Morning Spiritual Life Center. Welcome to the SLC Sunday Experience. We want you to know that your soul is welcome here and you are in the right place at the right time.
I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. Oh, yeah. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome here. Yes, it is. My soul is welcome here. 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 I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. Yeah.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hey, good morning, Elaine. Good to see you this
Good
morning.
morning, Reverend James. And talk about being here at the right time and the right place, all you daylight savers, right?
Yes, a few people from the earlier service thought that was regular time, and they came a little bit later. And we'll find a few people coming to this service when we're leaving.
So we greet you in the name of all that is good, all that is sacred, and all that is holy in this warm and loving ministry, Spiritual Life Center. And if you are here for the first time, if you're joining us on YouTube, live streaming, or here in the sanctuary, we greet you. As you know, you are welcome because you are not here by accident, but by
Divine appointment.
And we are so pleased that you've kept your appointment with us today. And if you would go ahead and silence your electronic devices for us this morning.
Well, as you know, during the season for nonviolence, which is between January 30th and April 4th, we support and affirm the teachings of Mahatma Gandhi and Dr. Martin Luther King, because those dates represent the anniversary of their deaths. And during that time, we have individuals come forward to share a reading to support the principles of the Season for Nonviolence each week during that time. And today's readings are going to be done by Karen to come forward to share her reading this morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Will everyone please join me in taking a nice deep breath? Thank you. That helps me calm my nerves. So today is March 11th, and today I focus on the positive. Recent scientific research tells us that what we focus on becomes real for us. If we focus on the pain and suffering in the world, we make and keep it real. Reading the paper and watching the news our minds can tend to get caught up in the negative things being reported. However, I can always choose to focus on the positive. I can watch the news with a prayerful heart, knowing that God is already involved in every situation. I can experience pain and suffering around me, trusting that God is there and everywhere. I can look at my world now and every day with a positive attitude. I choose to look for the activity of God, the good, in every situation. Today, I focus on the positive. When I first read this, I was reminded of an event that occurred when my son Alex was in 7th grade. He wanted to be a part of something, so he joined the track team. And the first track meet of the season brought out lots of kids and parents and students and teachers to cheer on the runners. And that first race was the 1-mile run, 4 times around the track. Alex joined in along with 5 other people. One of him was his good friend, Greg. When the gun went off, they started running, and Alex tried to keep up with Greg. Alex was about 5'3", and Greg was approaching 6 feet. They definitely had different strides. It wasn't long before Alex fell behind and couldn't keep up, but he kept going. And on his 3rd lap coming around, Greg passed him and finished the race. And Alex kept going, and when he was on the backside of the track, the rest of the runners all finished. And so he was on the track by himself. And he was running and continuing, and all I could feel or anticipate feeling was what he might be feeling. So I thought maybe he was feeling some shame or some embarrassment, maybe feeling he wasn't good enough, anticipating what maybe his peers, his classmates might tease him about later. And I had tears just streaming down my face when he crossed the finish line. My body ached for him. He came running over to me, and he said, Mom, that was my best time ever. I continued to have tears streaming down my face, but now they were tears of pride and joy, and I just felt so much lighter. Alex taught me so much that day about having a positive attitude.
Thank you. Well, they say, a little child shall lead us. So they're the ones that kind of know.
That's right. And I want to bring to your attention our very special Wow Wednesday program this week. It is entitled The Power of the Dark Night of the Soul, and it is with our own Reverend Dr. Gail Darren and Gail Vinson. It's going to be a beautiful evening, and also our own Ann Roach and Paula Mandela will be enhancing this powerful evening of music, meditation, and poetry. So plan to join us this Wednesday, soup at 6, program at 7. And for those of you who are soup and salad makers, we are still looking for those to join our wonderful team on Wednesday, and you can see Reverend Deborah or our board member, Pat Harvey, in the back there, if you want to join our team and be part of that ministry. I also want to bring up that our own beautiful and sparkling Lori Villa-Story, our youth ed director, wants to invite all of you next Sunday, directly after service, to the Family Spring Sing Play Shop. And this is open to everyone so that you can feed your youthful side. You're going to sing, eat, be creative and joyful together from 12:30 to 2:30. So mark that calendar for next week and next Sunday. And also out in the courtyard as part of our youth education program, our YOUers and our youth ed directors, sponsors, there's Elizabeth Chatton and Kian Lynn, our YOUers in the back there. They're here to announce that they've been deputized by the Easter Bunny. and as is tradition, our teenagers host the annual egg hunt. As you know, we did that with our wonderful firemen and women across the way, Metro Fire, and we'll be doing that again for our Easter season. But as they fundraise for their upcoming spring rally, support them and get your pre-sale orders of C's candy. So see them out in the courtyard and help support our youth ed program.
Well, that's one of the activities for our spring season. And in your bulletin, there's a yellow sheet. On one side, it has Mission Possible with the Q&A we had with Gary yesterday, and his talk title for today, as well as the genogram activity, is going to take place in April. But on the other side, there are also some additional activities that are going to be taking place, just the Passover Seder dinner with Reverend Becca and Ted Sampson. I think you still have to sign up for that. I think we may still have a couple of tables available. Our Good Friday service that we're going to be having, as well as our Easter sunrise service and our regular Easter program. So just add those to your calendar, and it'll be wonderful to have you there. Also want to let you know that we have an announcement from our Board of Trustees President, Carolyn Cochran. She's going to share a few words about the openings that we have on our Board of Trustees team.
Yeah. Thank you. Hi, everybody. It may seem like we just filled vacancies on the board, and in fact we did. We had some interim vacancies that we filled, but now we're in our regular cycle of board members leaving and looking for new board members. So if you're thinking about stepping up in a whole different way, we have so many exciting things going on right now. Can you feel it? I mean, when you hear Gary speak, and if there's anybody here who was here for the early service, we have a lot of exciting transformation happening here at Spiritual Life Center, and we need people who are excited and interested and invested in stepping into a leadership role on the Board of Trustees. So we have several positions available. There's a pink insert in your bulletin with all the information. It's a 3-year commitment, and you need to be a member of Spiritual Life Center. We're also requiring that you attend the Q process training. So if you've already had that, you're good. If not, the new board members will be plugged in, and certainly repeating that training is always a good idea anyway. So we're excited about what's going on here and about having some new people on the board. I heard at the early service that Celia did the announcement and challenged to have somebody on the board even younger than she is. So we want to expand our demographic. But so we're looking for that higher level of service, that leadership role, and there's just a lot of exciting things going on. So applications are available at the welcome table in the courtyard. They're also online. And feel free to talk to any of the board members. The board members who are here, would you raise your hands? So look around. You can talk to any of these folks if you have questions about being on the board. And we look forward to hearing from you if you're interested. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President.
And now it's my pleasure to introduce, with our ambassadors and prayer chaplains, please stand. Our ambassadors wear the rainbow ribbons around their necks, and they're here to offer you a warm welcome and answer your questions and get you pointed in the right direction and connected to all the programs and activities here at Spiritual Life Center. And the chaplains are here to hold us in confidential prayer during our time of the human journey of joys and challenges, and they wear the white stoles, and they will be available to all of you in the courtyard and in the sanctuary after the service. Especially if you are new, please see your bulletin, because we have programs and services in March and April that we don't necessarily mention here on the podium. So please take a look at those and see how you can expand your ever-living spiritual journey.
And if you are here for the very first time, in a few moments we're going to ask you to raise your hand and give you some opportunities to really connect with those at Spiritual Life Center, as well as to fill out a welcome card if you choose to, that you can hand in and drop in at the end of the service in the offertory basket or at the welcome table in the courtyard, and we give you that special Spiritual Life Center welcome.
So now raise your hand if you are here for the first time.
First-timers here today?
First-timers? There you are.
Okay.
Yeah, welcome. Keep your hands raised as we are offering you a shell lei. On that shell lei, please wear it so that we can greet you. And there is a tag on it that says, "We believe we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and there are many paths to the one God." So thank you for joining us, and let's greet our newcomers and each other.
I'm here to remind you of your magnificence, to help you awake to all the wonder that you are. I long to show you all the joy you're worthy of. I'm here to remind you how much you're truly loved. To each other, I'm here to remind you of your magnificence, to help you awake to all the wonder that you are. I long to show you all the joy you're worthy of. I'm here to remind you how much you're truly loved. I'm here to remind you how much you're truly loved. I'm here to remind you how much you're truly loved.
Yes, you are truly loved. Now let's continue that love fest as we embody these words and speak together our vision statement. Spiritual Life Center is a loving, vibrant family that welcomes home all people and accepts everyone, no exceptions, weaving ancient spiritual traditions with emerging wisdom. We cultivate a spiritual deepening with the divine, each other, and our planet. Now, as we prepare for meditation, let's sing this beautiful chant together. You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of spirit on earth.
You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of spirit on earth, and who you are and all you do is a blessing to the world. You are the heart, you are the hand, you are the voice of spirit on earth, and who you are and all you do is a blessing to the world. We are the heart, we are the hands, we are the voice of spirit on earth, and who we are and all we do is a blessing to the world.
as we enter this time of contemplation, take a deep breath and move your attention to the center of your chest. And you may want to place your hand over your heart center. As you breathe in these affirmations, I open my heart. I awaken my heart. I occupy my heart. As you continue to breathe, allow your consciousness to float up into a light daydream. Allow yourself to drift up into a crystal blue sky above a blue-green sea. You feel light and relaxed and safe. And down below you see a small emerald green island. And a low rhythmic sound emanates from the island. Curious, slowly descend. And the closer you get, the more you realize that the island is swathed in a green and pink mist. And the closer you get, the stronger this sound becomes. So you settle down on the green grass just outside that mist. This is the most beautiful place you have ever seen. And you have it all to yourself. But the sound that you followed, it becomes just a little bit louder, and you could feel it softly vibrating in your body. It seems to be coming from the mist. And since this is your daydream, there is a lovely, safe path leading into the mist. In just a few steps, you are completely enveloped in green and pink. The mist sparkles and twirls around you, tickling your nose. It's almost as if it's dancing with you. In a few more steps, you come to a crossroads. You're surprised that there are other people coming in from intersecting paths. This is where all of the paths converge. And as you look ahead, the mist begins to coalesce, and it takes on the form of a temple made of the green and pink light. As you step forward to enter the temple, you recognize the sound. It is your heartbeat. And as you each move into the temple, you recognize it for what it is. It is the temple of the human heart. In this precious moment, the mist permeates your entire body, and you realize on a very deep level that you are not alone on this island, because there is only one heart. The sound, the vibration is the beat of the one most holy heart. Standing in the Holy Heart, you are filled with a love and compassion that truly does pass understanding. And you take a few moments to experience the holy heartbeat in the silence. As you take a breath and begin to rise out of the silence, knowing, of course, that your heartbeat is always with you, a voice in the temple says, "Oh, my beloved, open your heart, awaken your heart, occupy your heart, so that your holy light may shine in all hearts everywhere. There is no such thing as separation. We are one. Remember this always."
There's a new church on the horizon, made of light, not of stone, calling out to all creation, you are not alone. Lions and lambs, saints and sinners, best of friends, enemies, woman and man, losers and winners, they are all in you and me. We are one heart, looking for answers. We are one soul, finding our way through the dark. One dream we share together. We are all a part of one heart. Out in the cold, there are faces hidden by the wind and rain. Hold out your hand, someone will take it and bring you home again. Yes, we are one heart, looking for answers. We are one soul, finding our way through the dark. One dream we share together. We are all a part of one heart. All around the world tonight, ooh, the fires are burning. Tears are falling from the sky. Still the world keeps turning. We are one heart, one soul, one dream we share together. We are all a part. Yes, we are one heart, looking for answers. We are one soul, finding our Ooh, we are one. Yes, we are all a part of one heart.
Well, thank you, Dennis, for reminding us that we indeed are one heart. Well, I'm going to introduce our guest speaker today, who is not a stranger. He's been here before, the Reverend Dr. Gary Simmons. I started working with Gary in 2005, but I knew of Gary before that time because he would travel to New Thought churches all over the country, serving as a consultant for peacemaking and transitions in communities. And when I was the CEO of Unity Worldwide Ministry, he was on our staff, and he was really kind of the vice president that was the head research and developer about the direction of churches, and he had helped craft a pilot program that was used in 13 churches over a 3-year period to see what the best practices were for moving churches into the future. Since that time, Gary is continuing to do his research and development and seeing, as we're going through one of the most significant paradigm shifts, I think, in temporary times, not only in the world, but also within our spiritual communities all over the country as well. And so I had brought Gary in to serve as a facilitator for a workshop with our board about 1.5 years ago, and he was bringing the latest and the greatest of what we can do to move our communities further. And now we've engaged him as a coach, consultant, to work with our board, with our staff, as well as the community as a whole, to be a model of possibilities of what a spiritual community can be. So he's kind of like our own church whisperer. So without any further ado, I'd like to bring in Dr. Gary Simmons.
Thank you, James. I appreciate that. Wow, church whisperer. Gosh, I move out of being church doctor to sort of where I am right now is like the Al Gore of churches. So I'm here to share an inconvenient truth. Okay. And my talk title is from moving from story of separation to interbeing. And I did part 1 earlier, 9 o'clock. So this is part 2. Now don't be concerned because each part is a separate talk, and both are live streaming, and so part 1 is available. And so you'll want to listen to part 1 or watch part 1. It's a shorter talk, only about 16 or 17 minutes. Today it'll be a little bit longer. But the reason why I wanted to share it in 2 parts is because as your coach, part of my effort is helping you evolve your ministry into a more sustainable ministry practice. And so I'm here as a partner with you and the community. And so this is an opportunity for me to connect with you. And so it's important, and we're taping this because it needs to be archived, and people who journey into and become a part of this need to know what's up and have a sense of why it is we're focusing on and talking about needing to evolve our ministry, especially during these times. And so part of what I'm going to share is information that'll help you understand what's happening in the broader context of our industry, thinking about churches as an industry. We are experiencing the decay of a 400-year-old ministry practice that's no longer sustainable. So throughout the United States and North America, 9 out of 10 congregational ministries where you have a minister in a community, they're either have plateaued or in decline. 9 out of 10. Okay, so this is not something that we can kind of just think, well, it's not happening here. We look around and we see all kinds of new people. Things feel great and fine, but you don't know what's going on behind the scenes and how stressed your leadership is, because the realities are such is that our current ministry practice is not sustainable under the current way in which we try to cultivate ownership and cultivate our sense of being able to manage an organization in the world in this economy is very, very challenging, right? And so these shouldn't necessarily be news in the sense of there's a need for us to make sure that we are living in the context of dealing with what is our current reality, and we have to have some sense that what's happening in our world is really inviting us into welcoming something that can be a catalyst for our awakening, our evolution, and our capacity to really impact this world that we live in now, because it's kind of in a difficult place. And so part of our effort together is to be conscious and intentional in our effort to be a participant in the transition team, because the world is in transition, right? And something needs to be hospiced with respect to what's going on in our world and what's going on in this ministry. And something needs to be midwifed in terms of what needs to be brought forth that this world needs right now, that only those who are connected to a greater sense of oneself, that's what interbeing is all about, this sense that we're all connected, that the real reality is that there's no separation. We're all connected on the level of we are stardust, and the level of all of our bodies are composed of the same stuff of the universe. And the only thing that separates us are our beliefs. And in reality, the only thing that separates us is what's going on in our heads, as opposed to what's going on in our hearts. Now, our hearts might not be all the way open, but we know that when we can connect in the context of who and what we've come here to be, in the context of our interconnection and dependency, we can see that there's something that we can do that can help the world right now, because it's in separation. It's in the disconnect. I mean, when you look at your own personal life and your own discomforts, anybody have any discomfort in your life? Anybody have a difficult life situation that you're dealing with? If you look at those things that are happening for you, and if you feel diminished by those experiences, anybody ever feel diminished by what you're having as your life experience? Well, it's only possible for us to feel diminished by what we're having as our life experience when we're not connected to our own sense of well-being and worth. When we're living in our own disconnect and our own sense of separation, our life has to look and feel a certain way in order for us to feel okay, right? Isn't that the way it works for us? And so that creates a kind of driven lifestyle. We become hypersensitive to how our life looks and feels, and if it's not a certain way, then we are compelled to try to coax something else out of the world in order for us to feel better about things. And so we're wanting in the context of our theology, our effort, to really understand, no, we have power to influence what's happening here. It's just that we need to connect up to a different context for applying our spiritual principles and practice. And so all of this, what this has to do with sustainable ministry is that in these times especially, when there is an intersection between chaos and the order that we need in order to have a sense of continuity and something to move towards without disruption and all these things happening that derail our efforts. Between chaos and order, there's an intersection that we can call chaotic space. It's a place where chaos and order merge together, creating this opportunity for us to enter into the disruption, the chaos, as well as all the things that are happening in this world, and welcome it in, because it means that we can become something new because of it. And our inability to open ourselves and be present to these changing times means that there's some aspect of our older self, our smaller self, our small s self, or as I said in the first service, our small ass self. There's a certain measure of that's interfering with the greater good that we can bring forth if we're connected to our sense of well-being and worth, if we're connected to the whole world, we're connected to all of life, connected to everything and everyone. But because we live in separation, that's how it's possible that we harm ourselves and each other, right? We couldn't, if we knew that what we did to somebody else actually had impact on ourselves, we would have a different world. wouldn't we? And so what's going on in the world, the fix isn't trying to make people be different. The fix is moving people into their hearts as opposed to living all the way in their head all the time, you see. And so what has this got to do with ministry? Well, our current model of ministry in these times is unsustainable because our current model of ministry, the minister-centric model of ministry, is funded by a tithing-based model. It's a 400-year-old practice that we have just taken on as just our way of doing ministry because the industry of church itself began in the effort to bring people together, and in order for funds to come in, there had to be created a system in which people would give to a greater possibility in their life that would ultimately fund a spiritual community such as Spiritual Life Center. And it's a perfectly appropriate strategy. It's just that these times and our own individual sense of not enough have interfered with the capacity for tithing as a spiritual practice to really fund ministries. And what's happening universally is because of attendance is dropping and because tithes do no longer sustain a ministry in the context of living in this world, we have to, if we're going to manage what's coming, we have to shift into a different funding model. So last month, the leadership of Unity Worldwide Ministries, the organization that James was the CEO of, and I was a part of the leadership of that group, we have moved on. James and I have moved on, but the group up there at Unity headquarters, they just had a summit in Chesapeake, Virginia, and their summit was all about survival. The Unity movement is concerned about living beyond 2030. Okay, and so why are they concerned about this? Here are the statistics. Not only are 9 out of 10 churches in decline or plateaued, but 40% of Presbyterian churches are gone last 15 years. 30% of Episcopal churches are gone. 25% of New Thought churches are gone last 10 years. So this is not something that's going to go away. And what's happening is that because there's an inability of communities to, in the context of giving into something that is very important, is competing with our sense of not enough. I mean, do you not know that our sense of not enough is part of the story of separation? And I mean, how many of you have a sense of not enough? It's just a fur ball. Cough it up. Because if we do not acknowledge how not enough runs us and how it creates meaning, and the world kind of mirrors that sense of not enough as well. And so we're compelled to get more in order to feel okay about ourselves, right? Have you ever felt that your well-being was tied to what you're having as your life experience? And when we feel that way, our life has to be a certain way in order for us to feel okay. Well, that's living life from the outside in instead of from the inside out. And so we need to, in the context of our own personal lives, in the context of managing our own sense of not enough, we need to recognize that our sense of not enough is a belief, a limiting belief that we acquired. And we acquired it from the story of separation. And we have built an economy and societies on the belief that we have to compete in order to thrive, that we have to get more in order to be more. And that's what is kind of falling apart, because the story of separation is kind of unraveling. Now, another issue with respect to the fundability of church organizations is that the primary funders of spiritual centers is done by the traditionals, or what sometimes is called the greatest generation, those who are in their 70s and 80s and 90s, and the baby boomers. How many of you are in one of those two categories? Raise your hand. Okay, now keep your hands raised for a moment. Look around, just about a lot of people. Okay. 23 Easters left, and you will no longer be here. 23 Easters left, and everyone you've raised your hand, I'll be 90 years old. I won't be here. Well, I won't be here doing this. I'll be on Margaritaville. And many of you will too. But the point is that as the traditionals, as the greatest generation, you'll exit in 13 years. And then the rest of us, baby boomers, will be 10 years after that. And then once those funds are gone, the whole thing collapses unless we have a different funding model. This is what most denominations in the mainstream are now dealing with and have recognized and acknowledged, but they're not telling anybody. That's why I'm Al Gore of the New Thought movement, because I'm here to let you know that this is what's happening, and if we're to turn the tide, then we have to move out of the story of separation and into this paradigm of interbeing. And in the context of organization, it means moving out of a minister-centric model of ministry, because that's a tithing-based funding model. It's centered around having someone be up here to be your authority, like the minister, and you are the flock, pastor-flock model of ministry. In a sense, you become sheep unto the ministry, because that's the nature of the way in which church is in America today. And in order for us to kind of transcend that, we need to build the context of our organization not around the comings and goings of ministers, and therefore the sense of separation between the clergy and the community, but we need to create a sense of unity and community around the principle that is not tethered to tithing to where you're spiritually fed, because that's not sustainable anymore. We need to shift to another principle of tithing, like tithing as source, where you invest your effort into creating something that you want more of, instead of feeling, I need to be fed before I give here. Because what happens then is that we create a kind of politic environment or a dramatic place where there's the inefficiencies of our dysfunction that get in the way of our capacity to own. The greater work is what we're about when we get over our stuff. And so part of being able to bring forth a different funding paradigm means that we have to be willing to step out of our old small s self. And that means the same is true for the organization, that when we're tethered to a kind of identity that is a link to the past or linked to a personhood, and that's part of your journey, is that you're kind of being birthed out of the shadow of your founders and into the maturity of who and what you have come here to be, independent of Michael and Faith. And that's important because Michael has moved on, as has Faith. And so if this ministry is to move into a sustainable ministry practice, we have to own what's happening in this community and be able to process what tethers us to the past, tethers us to the old ministry practice that prevents us from evolving into what can become when we own what we're creating together, independent of the founder's legacy. Not excluding that legacy, but including it and enabling us to be empowered to move into a greater expression of what Michael and Faith attempted to create. And that's how we honor the founders, is by making sure that this ministry is sustainable and not struggling and not living in the context of not enough, because that is amplifying our story of separation. And so where we as individuals have a sense of not enough, we bring our sense of not enough to the organization. So your board has a sense of not enough, the community has a sense of not enough, and we're trying to get more, and we're all kind of tethered to a belief that we have to get more in order to feel okay about ourselves. And so the challenge is how can you fund a ministry when everyone's at a different place? So I'm going to share with you a different funding model in the next few minutes that becomes what we're going to be moving into as a community that will create a different consciousness around how this ministry is supported, as well as a different consciousness with respect to how each of us as individuals are able to move beyond the limits of our own sense of not enough. And this is essential because we need more models of this capacity. Right now, our world has very few mirrors of interbeing, except when you turn on the nature channel. Don't you, when you turn on the nature channel, all of a sudden your brain becomes coherent? You breathe. You feel connected. And then you start looking at Fox News. And then you're in separation again. So how can we manage funding an organization independent of our 400-year-old practice of expecting people to support something if it's of value to them, and therefore we have to be all things to all people because, fear not if we become afraid that we're going to disappoint anybody in that kind of environment, you see. And can you see the burden it places on you all when you're so dependent upon people liking what's going on in order for them to feel like they can participate and support it? But what if this was really about not so much us feeling like we're being taken care of, but we're empowered to create something that has yet to be made that can make a difference in our world? What's more important? You feeling like you're being taken care of and served, or you feeling empowered that you can transform your life? You see the difference? And so to shift into that different paradigm, we have to have a whole different context for how we're going to make this sustainable. Okay, so here it is. It's all about moving from a tithing-based to an owner-based model, ownership-based. So what does ownership mean? Well, how many of you own anything? Okay, so we can look at ownership in two contexts. One is it's all about what you have, that's yours, that you can say, this is mine, I own it. And then the question is, well, do you take care of what you own? Right? I mean, that's a valid question in the context of ownership. So the idea is that if you own something, you take care of it. Ostensibly, that's the idea behind it. But we all own stuff, and we don't always take care of the stuff that we have, right? And so it has to be more than that. Ownership has to be more than just a sense that I have this is mine, because typically what we own owns us as well, you see. But it's moving into a place where ownership is about being on our purpose. It's wanting this, that we are about to thrive and to matter and to make a difference. I want this to be successful and work. And what that means for me is that I have to be able to interact with this in order for that intent to manifest as some kind of greater good for the broader community. And it's just not me that has to do it, but it has to be more than just me, right? And so let us just say that in this room right now, and let us just look at your entire community. Let's say you have 200 people. And you have 200 people, everyone has different means, right? In other words, we have people that are affluent in the community and people who are struggling in the community, right? There's everywhere in between, just like how it is in the world. But our tendency in the minister-centric model of ministry is to value or to kind of favoring those who can support us more meaningfully because we're desperate for more, you see. And then our tendency is that those who don't have the means tend to not feel like they can participate equally. And that dynamic is very difficult to resolve in the context of needing hundreds of thousands of dollars, amongst 200 people. It translates to $240 a person per month. And not everybody can do that in this economy. And so while a lot of people do a lot more and some people can't do that much, we have to devise a funding system that makes everyone's effort equal and matter as much as every other effort on the spectrum. So how can we do that? Okay, let's say we have a goal of 100% underwriting the expenses of this ministry through automatic giving. Let's say that's our goal. that someday, at the end of this 3-year coaching program, that's what's going to happen here. Would you be willing to see that happen here with me? That in 3 years, 3 to 5 years, we'll 100% underwrite the expenses of this ministry through automatic giving by those who own this ministry. So let's just say right now that in the context of all these various places that define different capacity in the context of what one can do in the presence of the need that this ministry has, then as we see that everybody does a different thing, but when we understand that in the context of everyone doing what they can do, something magical can happen. You see, right now, you're all doing what you do. But are you doing what you can do? Maybe not. Maybe you can do something more. But you don't do something more to get more. You do something more because you are more. You see, we have to shift out of needing to get more in order to feel good about ourselves and shift into being more so we can do more, and that's how we create a way in which we fund this ministry. So look at it this way. Let us say that we have 200 people, and if all 200 people were doing what they can do, not doing what they're doing, but doing what they can do in the presence of the mirror that is the needs of this ministry. So let us say that from time to time, this ministry welcomes the mirror that says, this is how we're doing. And that we can know, can we not know together, that right now, in principle, if everyone in this ministry, all 200 people, were in absolute ownership of this ministry, it would be 100% funded. Because when people do what they can do, not what they're doing, but what they can do, everyone on this spectrum is participating equally because the effort is the same. The effort for one person to put $50 in when they're only making $1,000 a month is the same for someone who puts in $50,000 who makes $500,000. So the point is that the effort is equal everywhere, but do we value the effort, and do we make people, do we invite people into owning this that we're trying to create together? So let's just say right now you have 30 people in that spirit of ownership out of 200. Now, everywhere, everybody's doing their own thing, but the point is that when we shift to a different funding model, it has to become something that we live ourselves into. So it's not going to happen overnight. But what does have to happen is our willingness to be here, if we're here, to want to welcome a connection to our responsibility to see that this ministry thrives. And so it's not looking outside of ourselves. It's not pointing fingers at anybody. It's just simply acknowledging that unless we all enter into the effort of bringing forth a different paradigm of ministry, this is going to expire in 23 years. And so the principle of ownership is something that's going to take a while to cultivate. And as I work with the leadership in this ministry, part of our process begins with, before we can evolve into a new ministry practice, we have to deal with the church's pain body, the church's shadow. And then we have to deal with our own sense of not enough and what lives in us as an obstacle to our expressing who and what we've come here to be. And I'll close with this because I've got to catch a plane. In the Gospel of Thomas, it is said, if you bring forth that which is within you, what you bring forth from within you will save you. But if you do not bring forth that which is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you. I think if we look at the world right now, what's going on, we will see what is really happening in these times. We have failed to bring forth what is within us. We cannot linger longer in this state. And so my prayer and my effort is to support you in partnering with your leadership to create a whole new paradigm of ministry. And I'm collecting I'm collecting communities like yourself, because my work, my passion, is developing sustainable ministries in this movement. But we have to welcome the disruption. We have to welcome it. We can't push it away, because our pushing away is engaging the story of separation as if it's against us. What if these times are for us? But we just haven't found a way in which we could leverage these things for our benefit, for our higher good. And so that's what this program is about. And next month I'll be back and I'll be facilitating a storytelling process. Well, we'll come together to tell the story of your 20-year history, your journey. And we'll look at various aspects of that story that might need to be processed in order for us to move forward. And for us to really honor the legacy of Michael and Faith in a way that really does honor them, because no minister wants to move on and then know that after they've left, the community is still struggling. And so if there's a part of this community that is still grieving the loss of Michael and Faith, then part of our moving through that is recognizing that Michael's moved on. And so it's up to us to move on as well eventually. We don't have to rush it, but we have to recognize that that's our work. And we'll start that work next month. God bless you. Anymore.
We have an opportunity now to move forward in so many different ways. At this moment, we're going to realize our oneness with this abundance of the universe. I was sharing in the earlier service that I had been in Ghana, West Africa a few years ago. And outside in Ghana, it was Nigeria, they have, outside the United States, there's more of a concentration of unity churches there than any other place in the world, believe it or not, outside the U.S. And I've shared that at their conference when they were doing their offertory, they had so much joy because they didn't just collect the money. They danced down the aisles to give their gifts. Now, we're not going to do that today, but we want to give, somebody said they want to dance down the aisles today. But the whole idea is that it's to really give from a sense of joy and gratitude and appreciation, because as we do, we know that whatever we appreciate appreciates in our life. So with that consciousness, let's say our offertory blessing together. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I appreciate. Thank you, God.
I also said in the first service that you don't have to dance, but we definitely invite you to sing along. Go ahead, Russell.
Woke up this morning, I finally realized we're all in this together. I started smiling, 'cause you were smiling, and we're all in this together. I love you and you love her and she loves him, and we're all in this together. There's always questions on the human connection, and we're all in this together. I'm made of atoms, and you're made of atoms, and we're all in this together. Ask a scientist, it's quantum physics, and we're all in this together. Every 12 seconds, someone remembers that we're all in this together. 'Cause we're all in this together. Come on now, we don't mean to rush you. We only want to reach out and touch you. A sure way to start is to open our heart. streets. We might feel like strangers, but we're all in this together. Choosing religion is a big decision, and we're all in this together. This church is changing, 'cause we are changing, and we're all in this together. You may think about jumping ship before it sinks, but we're all in this together. Come on now, we don't mean to rush you. We only want to reach out and touch you. A sure way to start is to open our heart. Here we go. We are all in this together. 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 Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
We are all in this together. We are one in the spirit, always interconnected on that spiritual level, that soul level. And so from that consciousness, we bless the tithes and offerings. We bless all those who are here today. We bless what is here. We bless what is all the way to come, because we know it's good and always in God's neighborhood. And God's neighborhood is wherever you are. And so it is. Amen. And with that, let's join together and sing our peace song. And now our prayer for protection to